Hello, I am RACCAR, the alien. I'm here today with Just a Bit Blank. I'm super excited to finally be talking to her. We're gonna do a little interview, podcast type thing. And Just a Bit Blank, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so started YouTube a while ago, we'll say that for now. And yeah, I am sort of a self-taught artist. I focused a lot digitally for YouTube, but I'm hoping to branch out in the future. So we'll see how that goes. And thank you,
Awesome.
Bakar, also for this whole thing, setting it up.
Well, you did all the technical stuff.
But
Uh,
this is your idea.
yeah, I hope it goes well. It's gonna. Um, well, let's start from the beginning. Like, how old were you when you figured out that you like art?
Easily, it's been a while. So maybe when I was 10, I remember going to like a little art camp for the summer. But when I started taking it seriously, it would have been 14, so when I was in grade 9, and it was because we have to take an art class in high school for Canada, basically.
Oh, that's cool. Mandatory fun.
Yeah, but I took it all the way throughout high school, so for 4 years.
Cool. Over
Mm.
here, not many people took art class. I took it for all 4 years, which was also kind of weird. But it was the only class I was ever interested in. So,
Yep, it sticks, that's for sure.
um, I think I go all the way back till as far as I can remember. I was just a little kid. I would always, instead of doing my homework, I would just doodle little pictures on the side of my homework papers, um, and I just never stopped. So I guess I
Yeah,
was
it's like
born.
the Go ahead, sorry.
No, no, I guess I was just born with it. So,
Yeah, it's like the stereotypical like art kid drawing on their homework.
yep, yep. I had no interest in the homework itself, which didn't make school very easy, because you got to do your homework.
Yeah, would you say that's like a bit of the struggling though? Because I feel like I'm not sure about you, but for the time that I was like, yeah, I sort of like doing art. It was sort of like a you're going to become a starving artist or something like that.
I have heard that one. Yep. your
Yeah,
your parents want you to get a real job, and
art's more
but
of
I
a
know there's
hobby
plenty of
thing.
artists, making good money. Comic book artists, like all these computer animation people in the movie industry and advertising, and so there's plenty of careers out there. But then
Yep.
again, you're not really doing what you want to do, probably. A lot of that you're doing what someone else wants you to do, and that may be okay for some people, but I got to do my own thing. You know, if I don't have
Mhm.
interest in it, I don't think I can do it.
Yeah, it's completely true. There's like two sides of the coin, right? Like you've mentioned, you either can get a career, but then it's not something you want to do, or you're just constantly creating as a career, and maybe that's what you want to do, and you want to take certain challenges that having a client gives you, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to ask you too is like you're still in college, art
Yes.
college, or what are you going for? Graphic design?
Yeah. So the breakdown is basically I'm in a 2 years graphic design program, and it's very interesting to say the least.
Cool. I mean, so what are you gonna do when you get out? When you
So
graduate?
hopefully, I will be in graphic design still, which is looking very strong. Um, it's sort of an interesting career path to sort of join and go into. Graphic design is just this massive um, field. You do anything from web design to poster designs. Some people do illustrations as well. So it's just a variety of things. I think ultimately I like the idea of becoming maybe an art director or something along those lines. But baby steps. Gotta work your way from the bottom up.
That does sound pretty cool though. So what, like work in like an art museum, or what does an art
There were
director do?
so many things.
Okay.
So it's like there's so many different sides, but essentially when you see like movie posters or when you see a museum display even, those companies goes to probably a graphic designer or has a team of graphic designers, and they decide what direction should those posters go. They reflect on it, and then they give it to the client to review it and whatnot, and then they execute the plan basically. So an art director tells the people, hey, this movie has this really cool little detail that I think we should really push. So let's push that in the movie poster or the, like, possibly even the trailers and whatnot.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool.
Hmm.
And yeah, you probably get a job anywhere in the world doing something like that. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
it's a pretty it's a good feel if you like creating, and also if you really like to push yourself in trying a whole bunch of different things and researching into a buttloads of topic. Because, like, for an instance, I have to research into a old radar station that was used, I think, during the Cold War. And that's completely outside of my field of expertise, but I get to sort of touch on those things.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Um, well, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. I would say I'm going to go down my list because I
Yeah.
have thoughts.
Okay.
Um, how did you get into art, and how would you describe it? Your, like, art itself.
Okay. Growing up, liked a lot of fantasy movies, space movies, liked outer space a lot, liked dinosaurs a lot, and
Hmm.
all sorts of creatures and monsters, and um, but it just came naturally. Um, and the more I would do it, the better it got. And then I don't know, just kind of would use my mood and try not to think too hard about what I was doing. I would just let it naturally flow. So if I was
Hmm.
depressed, I'd draw something creepy and weird. And if I was mad, I'd draw something very angry and scary. And once in a while, I'd draw something happy. Um, but I would let my emotions kind of take over. And a lot of the times when I would try to draw something specific, it wouldn't turn out as good as I wanted, and I'd get kind of anxious about it, and it'd be stressful, so it wasn't fun. So I leaned more
Mm.
towards just letting whatever came out come out, and eventually, instead of having little doodles on all sorts of different papers, I decided to just carry a notebook or an art sketch pad, and whenever I was going to doodle, just doodle on one page. So eventually, that page would fill up, and all of a sudden, I have a piece of art.
Yeah, which I think it's really incredible to see your work because they interlock in such a specific way that A, like, computers probably couldn't do. And
Aw,
it's just really cool to see how things just interlock and, like, the little things you hide in your pieces. I don't know whose channel this part's gonna appear on, but whichever channel it is, like, definitely check out more of Vakar's video just because
aw,
how the
shout out.
doodles are is just so amazing to see you do it.
Aw.
And people might be like, "Oh, that's just mindless doodling." You try it because it's not that easy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's like negative space, and just like even if you see a half of a shape of like an animal, you can just puzzle piece it in there, and then you kind of leave yourself to will or fate to whatever else comes after it. But there's usually something you can puzzle piece in, and if you can't, you just draw some squiggles and connect it to something else. Or if I do have some negative spaces, I'll throw in some hearts. Just throw some love in there.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just incredible to always see it and then seeing the time lapse of everything just coming together. And like you say, like, filling in every single bit with something that's so amazing, like a little creature or like a cat for some of your videos and stuff.
Well, thank you for
Chef's
saying
kiss.
that. I really appreciate that. It's fun. It really is. But yeah, it just the flow. It just sometimes you just got to shut your mind off and just put some music on and just let whatever comes out comes out. Um, and that's kind of the majority of my stuff. It's weird though, you know. And so when I tell people I'm an artist, they're like, "Well, what do you do? Portraits?" I'm like, "No, I can't do that." And cityscapes, nope, can't do that. you know. So I just described
Mhm.
it as like I can draw weird stuff and monsters, you know. But
Hey,
there's an
those
audience
are
for that, I think.
things I can't do, so
Well, you do everything else. I mean, you can do all the computer stuff. You can draw a pencil, pen. I mean, you are so creative. You got like every medium figured out, and you're still in school. So imagine in a year or two when you get out, you're just gonna be like the world's gonna be your oyster. You can do whatever you want, you
hey, I
know?
think the world's gonna be like yours too because like you don't work with a whole lot like you use a Sharpie and sometimes people think to themselves like, "Oh, I need to buy very expensive things to create art." And there you are busting out these things that could be used as like wallpapers or something, like something really cool with like a
Yeah,
Sharpie.
yeah. And what was it? I fell in love with the Bic Crystal 1.6 millimeter. So like a regular Bic pen, it's like an office pen is like okay, but the just having that point 0.6 extra, like it juices more, like more ink comes out, so you can do it a
Mhm.
little faster. Um, and I've been enjoying those. But like starting off the YouTube channel, I didn't have any money. Um,
Yeah.
my audio is bad, my video is bad. um, but that was kind of like the charm of it. Like
Yeah.
eventually, I'll get some money and get like a decent camera and get some decent lighting and maybe get some fancy pens and stuff. But for now, not a whole lot of people are watching anyway. So you got to start somewhere, and then I'll just keep building upward.
But it's
Hopefully,
also like you say not a lot of people watching. I know there's a lot of people watching you because that's how they come to my channel is because they know you and they're like, "Oh yeah, Ricard loves so and so." So like that's the only reason why I think I am doing great is because people like you are very supportive and just helps to build a wonderful art community. But the other thing I think about is growing slowly is that you get people who are loyal to the style that you like to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Mhm. So like
Um,
they don't expect you to like constantly do fan art. So then it's like you genuinely like the things that I do and that's why you're here and not just like, "Oh, I stopped making fan art of so and so." Gosh. Not that I'm
well,
trash
so
talking fan art, by the way.
yeah, but like, so you did I don't know, I guess it was fan art. You did one of my characters in Blink Space Studio. Also did one of my characters. You both did Dydras, and like, it was so exciting to see someone else making one of my guys. You know, and like I can't even explain like how cool it was. Um,
Yeah, I totally get that. Like that's also another thing that I think you bring to the art community too is that you're very thoughtful about other people in the community. Like when you were drawing the comic posters or whenever you drawn any of my characters, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely incredible. No matter what you think, by the way. I saw that comment on my Instagram. I still think it's incredible that you like memorize certain details and even though
I
it's
I,
not
I should have
accurate,
I should have used references. I should have
but
used.
I know who they were.
And also with that one, I should have did background. I did. I left it in. If I would have did the background, I think it would have been 10 times better. And I think I am going to do the background on it eventually, and like maybe post it on Instagram or something.
Mhm.
Because like after when I first did it, I thought, wow, this is cool. And then a few days later, I'm like, it could have been better. I could have did this. I could have did that.
Hey,
And
but
that's
you
one of the
didn't
fun
think of
things
the
about art
better.
is like,
Yeah.
when is it done? You know.
Yeah.
And at some point, you have to like let it go, like out in the world. Go be out there,
It sounds like children, actually.
right?
Gotta go let them be free at some point.
And after a while too, like you look back a few years and you're like, oh, I did that. As a matter of fact, I was looking at some sticky note drawings of aliens I did. I think I used to be better in the past at making aliens than I am now. Like I think I started to try to make them more cartoony, and in the
Mhm.
process, I lost the ability to make them cool. It's it was weird. I was just looking at my old stuff and I was like, this is so much better than what I'm doing right now. So it makes you think.
It's a different style, like, now compared to the past, and yeah, I could definitely understand how you feel in a way, because I feel like doing traditional work, like using a pencil, my work turns out a lot better, and that's, like, so long in the past. But, like, recently, because I've taken up digital art because of the convenience, by the way, I'm just like, "Oh, man, I just am not loving it, and there's still a lot to learn," but it's, like, hard to sort of have that mindset or like express that mindset because you don't want to discourage other people either.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm amazed. I could never figure out all those different buttons and options, so I think it's really cool. So your digital stuff, and you did the human version of Daedra in on the digital, and it's great. I got it hanging up on my wall right now. It's so cool.
Which is mind blowing to me that like someone has a print of my work and it's just hanging up on there.
It's so cool. I really wish I could have gotten it bigger, but I ain't got no money. So
Hey, listen,
what is
one
it? It's like
day.
11 by 16. I don't know, something like that. So it's bigger than a magazine, but not like
All right.
not like a ton. I don't know. But I want to back up a little bit. So you're saying about me having some views. Your sketchbook video got like what, like 5,000 views?
That was freaking wild.
That was crazy. I like checked back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had to comment again. This is like everyone was checking it out. So what did you
Yeah.
do? How would you do it? I want to know. I
It
don't got 5,000
it
views
like
on videos.
freaking blows my mind too, right? Cuz it's not like any other video that I've done before. So, it's just really difficult to sort of understand how did that succeed and whatnot because I'm genuinely like also as mind blown as you are, and I'm like, is it the length of the video, is it the thumbnail, like why did people click on this specific video and like none of the others? So it's also sort of feeling like a toss up for me as well as like puzzled. I don't know.
And one of the things too, the success I had. So when I first started, no, when you first make a video, no one knows who you are,
Mhm.
and like how are you going to get views. And so I purposely went out looking for YouTube channels that had less than 100 subscribers. I went for the smallest ones. We looked through some of their videos, picked the one I wanted to watch, and if it was good, I'd leave a really nice comment on there. And more often than not, they would come over to my channel, check me out, leave me a comment, and all of a sudden, you're kind of supporting each other. And
Mhm.
also in the beginning, I was putting out a video every Sunday. So I was very consistent, and I think the algorithm likes that. So I started getting some traction pretty quick. But what really helped was my networking. I just kept, if anyone gave me a comment, I would subscribe to their channel. And all of a sudden, the next thing you know, I'm subscribed to like 1,000 channels. So when people I do want to see come in, like I miss it because there's all these notifications just piling on. And
Mhm.
eventually I got a video where I got like 100 likes and it was doing really well. And I subscribed to those 100 people, and then it became too much. I couldn't keep up with the comments coming in. And it wasn't like an outrageous amount, but I work full time and do other stuff. So,
Yes.
and eventually, like, I didn't want to do all that networking, you know, and I think a lot of the people coming were coming because there's like a mutual thing. I'll watch your video, like, and comment on it, then you do that. But it wasn't like they wanted to be there necessarily. They're just doing it so I could go by them. And so once I stopped that, then my traction just went downhill, you know. So a lot
Yeah.
of the views and subscribers I got didn't actually want to be there. They're only doing it as like a sharing thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I find that like the hardest part about doing YouTube or even just social media, it's that you you either network and like follow a whole bunch of people, but then you just have too many notifications, or if you don't reach out to people, then they just don't know who you are, and it sort
Yeah.
of this terrible, like, trying to figure out what's the right amount and whatnot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so my views are definitely down. Um, but it's what it is. And
Mhm.
it looks like a lot of people too, like they have to work, put out videos for years before they really get some traction. And there's some people
Yep.
with like 1,000 subs, 2,000 subs, but they'll only get like 100 views. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky.
Yeah. YouTube is not easy, that's for sure, especially with the constant changing of the algorithm, I believe is a big problem.
Yeah, I've been thinking about doing some shorts. They say having shorts helps, but I don't know. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about it. Well, do you have a favorite YouTube artist? Like, who's your favorite YouTube artist that you like to watch? Like
Other than I
painters.
think we have some mutuals, right? I know Dreg comments a lot, like Dreg mirrors.
I've seen a couple of his videos. I am subscribed to him. I'm
Mhm.
not super, I haven't watched a lot though, but I do remember being cool. He seems like a nice guy.
Yeah. I know we have some mutuals for sure. And then just like out there, like, why did I think doing art on YouTube was a good idea? I know I started off with Jazza, Draw with Jazza.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You
he's
like him?
quite popular. Yeah, when I was like, I think 14. For reference, I'm in my 20s, by the way.
Okay.
um, and then also drawing with waffles.
I'm not familiar.
She does a lot of character designs, and it's more on like the cutesy side of things. And then I
Okay.
also like Drawfee as well.
Okay.
What
Don't
about
know.
you?
Well, the Blink Space Studio,
Hmm.
Susan, she did the other Daedra for me. Her stuff is nuts. I don't even know how to explain it. Like she does these Celtic
Yes, that's why I
weaves.
remember.
Like they're so complicated, and she does tutorials how to do it. And when you're following along, you can kind of do it. But she does these massive things that are like poster size, and it looks
Mm,
like a print, but she's doing it by hand, and it must take forever. Like it's so accurate, and it's really cool. But like it would drive me nuts doing all that. And I actually did a video trying to recreate some of her stuff, and I literally like started losing my mind.
mm.
Like all the weaving and twisting, and then there's a lot of horror stuff in there, and not just like regular like creepy things. It's like terror, you know. And the
Yeah,
thing is, like, she barely has any subscribers and stuff, and her stuff is awesome. And that's like one of the tragedies too. There's some really good people out there that their stuff just doesn't get any momentum because no one can find them.
yeah. It's it's really difficult, especially for I think something as like art, for example. I remember when I was researching into starting YouTube, I was like, There's a lot of speed painters, but it's just like hard to stand out when there are just so many of one thing, and then you think to yourself, what can I bring to the table that sets me apart from other
Mm.
people?
Yeah, yeah, standing out too. I try to do original stuff. Um, I think if you drew a Batman, yeah, I bet a bunch of people would come watch you draw Batman, but or a
Fan
Spider Man or
art.
whatever. But I mean, there's so many people doing that I feel like, well, I'll just do my own thing. And then also I'd feel the
Mhm.
pressure of I have to make this Batman perfect, because people
Yeah,
know what he looks like. When I draw one of my things, they don't know what it's supposed to look like, so it can't be wrong.
yeah, that's I feel the same way about fan art. Okay, listen, I feel like we need to address the people. If you do fan art, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? It's a skill of itself. It's just that we don't really want to do it because it gets compared to the real deal.
Yeah, I couldn't handle the pressure. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Well, how about like how did you get into YouTube? Like you just threw it out one day, or
Uh, oh man, that's a long story. So basically, I was in university for biology, you know that spiel. And like, I was like, I needed a way to continue to do art as I'm in biology, but like I couldn't find the motivation to do it by myself because there's no like timeline or anything when you're doing it by yourself. So I thought having a YouTube channel would sort of hold me accountable. Is that the right? I feel like that's not the word you want to use. Um, it will set like deadlines and like challenges for me to like accomplish, and then I could
Yeah.
just post it, and then it is what it is. Set it out into the world, see what happens, type thing.
Okay.
That's actually something I wanted to ask you though. What made you start your YouTube channel?
I had been wanting to do it for probably years. Um, I'm not tech savvy at all. Um, like quite illiterate, and uh, and that kind of brings me to my channel. So like, I couldn't do it without Robin. She does the editing and she does music, and then Leroy does a bunch of music. We got Aaron and Dime, the guinea pigs that are emotional support animals. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like Robin has edited, I think, every video. Um, I basically just give her a pile of junk and she pieces it together into a coherent thing. So,
Thank you, Robin and Leroy, for the possible work that you're gonna have for this interview.
well, and the best part is like sometimes I'll be all excited. I'll finish like a 5 hour drawing and I'll call them up and I'll be like, I need editing and a song right now. We have to get this out. It's been a month since we put out a video, and they will. And like Leroy will just rip out a guitar and start playing something, and he'll bring out the bass and record that over it, and all of a sudden it's out. Like it's magic.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to do all that technical stuff, it would be so much worse. So yeah, it's just as much their channel as it is mine because
Mm-hmm.
they're working on every single video
Yeah.
along with me. And then who else? I want to shout out for Tyler. He did a song on one of the videos, and he's also working on a song now. And he's got an album that he just put out on Spotify called Sweet Dreams. Hopefully we can link it. So I don't know if you have to like put anything there. So yeah, so Sweet Dreams. I think he said it was inspired kind of by Minecraft music, maybe. But
Interesting.
some of it's peaceful in Minecraft, and then some of it gets a little heavier. It's awesome. And then
Yeah.
we sort of just recently brought in Rowan, and he's got his own YouTube channel. I don't know how it's said, so I'm going to spell it. It's ESPAE. I'm going to say it again. ESPAE. And he's this awesome artist, musician. Like he writes his own music, his own lyrics, he sings. And he's got an EP coming out soon. I don't know the name of it, but hopefully we can link that too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and then Robin and Leroy, just I can't thank them enough. They help me with everything. What was the question? I'm sorry. There's a
Uh,
question in there, right?
what made you want to start YouTube?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I have all these like notebooks full of like drawings and stuff, and I'm not doing nothing with them. So I'll do a drawing and I put it on the shelf, you know.
Yeah.
And I've watched other artists, and then once I made a video, I watched it over and over again. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Then I'm like, oh, I could do this better, and I could have better lighting, and and it kind of each one I made me want to make another one. So
Nice. Yeah. I mean, it's always a good thing when, you see your work and then you're like proud of it, but you're like, but I could also do this better and I will for the next one, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so true.
Hmm.
Um, well, did you have any like encouragement when you first started?
Not
Like your first few videos, did you
really.
have someone like comment and like give you some energy from it?
I feel like that was very much. So it's a lot of other artists. I think you were one of the first few, and Harame or like Victoria. I
Harame
don't
is
know.
awesome.
Yes. So she was also very encouraging and whatnot. And we sort of also started to support each other in that way. But I can't really think of. Okay, it's a bit of a tricky thing. So to come clean about something, I actually had a different channel before this. Um,
What? What? I
It's
never knew
gone
that.
now.
What?
I
Wait,
am
what is it
so
called?
upset at myself.
Can I
I
look it up?
don't
Is it still out
freaking
there?
remember. This is why
Oh my
I'm
god.
so upset.
Oh my gosh. Secrets revealed.
Secrets Reveal, Just a Bit Blank had another channel. So what happened was that I had that channel, but there was like no branding and I felt lost, which is why I'm always having this debate of like, should I rebrand this channel or not?
Hmm.
And it's like one of my darkest regrets. One of my regrets is deleting that channel because I can't go back and like look at it and
Oh
whatnot. But
no.
there was a channel who was very supportive there, and like it just sort of sucks that I lost that beginning. But this is a fresh new beginning, and that's why I'm hesitant about always starting another channel because I'm like, man, but I worked so hard, and it'd be such a shame if like this went away. But
Well,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I always, I call you up at like 3 in the morning or text you anyway. I'm like, I don't think this video is channel worthy. Should I get rid of it? And you're like, no, don't get rid of it.
Keep your
So that
progress.
kind of explains that.
Yeah, but like you asked the question and I completely was just like backstory. Anyways, so to
Oh,
answer the question though, it was just like, yeah, I did have a few artists like yourself and like a whole bunch of other. I think I was lucky. I entered the nice side of the art community. And yeah, it's just really nice, especially when you meet the right people and they get you off on the right foot and encourage you a whole lot. Yeah.
yeah. Speaking of encouragement, again, when I was going looking for smaller art channels, one of them was Vanessa's art, and she was doing these little tiny mini paintings, like of like
Yeah.
landscapes, of these little like 2x2 canvases, and they were really neat. And she did like a live stream, so everyone's in the chat, and I'm putting my alien with the heart emoji, just showing love. And at the time, well, they changed their name. I'll use their new name, Yen Draws. Um, she said something like, "Oh, Ricard's an artist too." That means she stopped what she was doing, clicked on me, and went and saw that I had an art channel, and it made me feel so good. I'm like, "Oh, they recognized me as an artist,"
Yeah.
and that like was like just so uplifting. And I'm like, "Oh, someone's talking about me being an artist," like it was just so cool. So I still follow Yen Draws to this day, and since then, the last couple years, she's gotten better and better and better, and now she's like just unbelievably good at drawing, like colored pencils, and her stuff looks like 3D. It's super cool.
Yeah. It is really cool for that. I think one of the other things that artists struggles with is when do they call themselves artists too. We had a similar talk in graphic design, but I feel like art, because it sort of is like this whole like you can't get a job type thing, it just feels really interesting to sort of figure out when can you call yourself an artist. Like I don't know if you feel that same way, but that's what your story sort of
Yeah.
made me think of. It was like validation, like you are an artist.
Do you have to sell something? Like when does it happen?
Yeah, if people want to comment when that happens, let us know down below. But like, yeah, it's just hard to like think of yourself like, am I an artist? Yes, no, I haven't sold anything.
you
But
know.
yeah.
Um and yeah, so that was a big uplifting moment. Another one was M drawing M. I think she might go by Drawing Demon now. Um but she did a video where she was shouting out some of the channels she watches, and she mentioned me, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm in a video.
Yeah.
Or someone's. And that was like a huge uplift because like she's an awesome artist. I'm like, this awesome artist is talking about me being an artist, like wow. um and then we did a collaboration. That was my first collaboration, and it turned out awesome. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
that was like another, just like I'm doing it. Like I've always
Mhm.
wanted to, and now I am, kind of moments.
And now here you are. We're doing
No,
this
here
little
I am.
chat interview thing.
Well, and this is something I've wanted to do for a really long time.
hmm
Well,
Sometimes it's just meeting the person that is like you want to do these big steps with type things.
mhm.
Definitely like meeting the right people was a good start to the channel for myself, how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Hmm. But I hope you get to like do this with other artists. Maybe this could be like your little thing. Once in a
I
while,
think
you
you'd
have like,
be I think you'd be better at it than I am.
you are doing great. I don't know what you're talking about. You are doing spectacular.
Well, I've watched a whole bunch of artists interviewing other artists, and some are good and some aren't as good because, like, a lot of artists, are either depressed or savants, and sometimes the
Introverts.
interview isn't really fun. But you still get to know them and see their stuff, and they're cool. But
Hmm.
sometimes, like, it might not be the most fun interview. Like, you make things fun, so I think you should like have like a live stream like every week or a podcast, and I think you would kill it. So,
Hey, but this is like, I think this is also a big deal because you're talking more. You're definitely gonna you have to talk a lot more right now because this is an interview style thing. But like, I mean, at the beginning, you've mentioned you wouldn't do voiceovers, and now you're slowly starting to do them.
oh my gosh, did you see how terrible they were? Like, my newest one that's gonna come out is it's actually pretty good, but like it's still not good, but it's 10 times better than it was. So I'm hoping in a year from now I'll be good at it eventually.
The
But
focus
you've
should
always been
always
good at
be.
at talking. Even
That's
your old
because of
videos.
the dead channel. It was dead, and oh man, if you could see that video, like it was a hot mess.
uh,
But you know
well, what
what? You're
else do you
gonna.
do? What is it?
Oh, like outside of YouTube and stuff?
Yeah, like what do you do for fun?
So here's the thing. I just keep creating. I do. It's actually quite terrible, and I think I've ranted about this before, but all of my hobbies consists of creating things, and it sort of gives me a bit of burnout sometimes. So like I've done cross stitching, sometimes I crochet, sometimes I knit. It's like very rare occasions. And occasionally I'll go play pool or billiards, axe throwing. I've tried archery once and I would definitely do it again, and knife throwing.
Wow, dangerous.
Yeah, like living life on the edge, even though they're very safe locations that I'm doing it. There's staff members there to make sure that no one gets hurt.
That's good. It's definitely good.
Yeah, but what about yourself? Do you have like hobbies you do outside?
No, no, I don't do anything.
I low key, I thought because you're into like fantasy and like aliens and whatnot, I thought like you'd be interested in maybe like D&D, even just like watching campaigns.
Um, yeah, I mean, back in the day, I played Robotech. Some people call it my cross. It's D&D, but with giant transforming robots and giant aliens. But it's D&D just like in space. You still have the dice and everything. Um, Collected comics for a long time.
What's your
Um,
favorite comic?
the Punisher. He's the greatest. He's the
Mm.
most badass. Not anymore though. Like all media has been ruined lately. So so that's why we have to create our own, and that's what I'm been trying to work on.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I like outer space stuff. I like ancient religions, and
Hmm.
like the occult and stuff because they're so weird and they're all so interesting, and there's so much to all of them. And
Yeah.
it's amazing that they came up with this stuff thousands of years ago. Um, but I mean, I don't spend a ton of time on it, but I think it's fascinating, and um, I do like outer space stuff. But basically, everything I learned growing up is now wrong. They proved like everything that they said was wrong. so so
Huh.
you have to come up with like your own theories. And so I have like a moon theory thing, like a planet theories and stuff, and that's a whole nother thing. But I mean, yeah, no, I like to just be creative though. That's basically Like I like to do stories too. I have a whole lot of stories that I'm trying to write, and just wrote a song the other day, at least the lyrics for it. So hopefully that'll come out soon.
which
Would
is
you
going to
do
be
any
exciting.
stories? What's that?
It's going to be so exciting hearing the song because I think we chatted about this, and I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, a lot of different people are working on it.
mhm.
It's going to take a while, but I want it to be like an alien band song. We have to
Yeah.
get some alien band uh, songs coming out. um, but yeah, like Leroy, great musician. Robin,
Mhm.
great musician. She does more like the computer music,
Yeah.
but she did the bass on my biggest video.
Mm.
And she played Everyday People by Sly and the Family Stone on bass. And all of our stuff's original, so I was like, I don't know if we really want to do that. But the bass line for that song is just like you're just kind of hitting the same note over and over. So she
Mhm.
played this like the song, like the whole song on bass. I don't even know if that makes any sense, um, but that made that video because the video was just
Mhm.
me drawing like a million stick people. But the vibe that she came up with for it made it like a million times better than what it was, you know?
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of was like, oh, this channel isn't just about me drawing. This is about like art and the music and the feeling
Mhm.
behind it too.
That's for sure. I think there's a lot of like you definitely feel a lot of things looking at your art pieces. Just like you have some very like emotional piece that's like rage and like some that's sadder and a bit gloomier and
Yeah.
then the really fun stuff. And I know that some of the like bright like flowery stuff that you've drawn pushed you, which is like a round of applause because some people don't like challenges. But like yeah, just seeing you put emotion into your artwork is just really incredible.
Well, and I because like I was gonna ask about like do you write stories too? Because you have a lot of original characters that have like a lot of backstory to them. Like, are you making a universe of guys, or what are you doing?
We're gonna stay on this topic a bit longer for the story thing because I have questions for you.
Okay.
But yeah, so there are a lot of story stuff that's related, like different characters goes in different universes that I have, and there's just so many that I have to flush out. And I think one of the goals for the channel is to potentially like just do a little side series of exploring those worlds and maybe like finishing a plot for one of the books at least. But we'll see how that goes. You know how it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going to actually ask you. I have to scan the list of questions. um,
I know I've been
so
crossing them off as we go.
yeah, I have not because I know it's gonna make a lot of noise coming from it. But yeah, um, what's your favorite universe slash storyline that you've made, and is it ongoing or like a current project that you're working on?
So I have a whole bunch of like story ideas, but they're probably more like short stories. And I actually have some nightmares that I also like have written down, but everything seems so overwhelming. Like to do a whole comic book or like, you write
Mhm.
the story, you make the panels, you draw the pictures. It seems like such an overwhelming task. I'm trying to find easier ways to do it. Um,
Yeah.
and I always say whenever I have a story, I'm like, well, I'll do this one first because this is a shorter story. It'll be easier to do, and then I'll get the practice for when I do the longer one. But then that shorter one, I'll think of more stuff, and it'll become bigger. And then I'll be
Mm.
like, well, I'll work on a smaller one, and it kind of just keeps going. But the Alien Band is probably my primary focus. It's really weird because I'll go through my day and I'll be doing whatever random task, and I'll just be thinking of this alien music band. Like I think about it way too much. Like it's weird, right?
Yeah.
To be thinking about an alien music band all the time. But like I have their backstories. I just wrote like episode 1. It's probably only like 5 minutes long, but it took me a while. And then I just typed it out, just finished typing it out. It needs a rework and everything. And then need some people to do the voices, which I think I have pretty much everyone to do the voices for them. And I
Mhm.
cut out some, like I drew the aliens and just cut them out so I could move them around. And it was cute. And then I figured maybe down the line I could add little things to their arms and stuff so it could make their arms move,
Mhm.
because that seems like it'd be easier than doing like a whole comic or a whole story, and maybe
Yeah.
you give it some sort of quirky quality at the same time. I don't know.
I think that sounds really cool to sort of do, like, paper puppets, I guess you'd call them. That just sounds really neat though, like, 'cause it's just not a concept you hear very often, and, there's a lot of effort put into those type of things that makes it extra special and charming in a way.
Mhm. Well, there's some really awesome paper people out there that can make their eyes blink, their arms move, turn their head. There's some amazing stuff, but it's the same with like drawing. There's people that can draw way better than I can, but I just want to tell the story, like, for this. And like the Alien Band should be an ongoing story. We got
Mhm.
tons and tons of content for it. It's just a matter of doing it, and then that's why I went with the easier route. But we'll see. That's going to be one of those we'll see things. Um,
I mean, being a storyteller ain't bad. It ain't bad at all.
yeah. So I really do want to get some stories on the channel. So hopefully, wish me luck.
I wish you the best for it. I think it sounds really exciting. I know you've briefly told me about like the characters and stuff, and they sound really cool. You've built out like these really cool character dynamics, and I look forward to like even just hearing about it. But definitely like baby steps when it comes to large projects
Well,
and
and
breaking
going
them
back to
down.
the Daedra video you made and the Ziva one, you took all my insane ramblings about these guys and you described them in the videos, and it helped make the characters come to life, because I don't have any backstory on my channel about them, and you literally like, you know kind of put out their origins and everything and put them into the universe, and they felt more real, you know and you did such a good job. You like took like almost everything I said and like put it in there, and you did the voices and stuff. It was so cool. Like, I can't tell you how much I appreciated that. I watched it over and over again. I was like, oh, this is so neat.
But the thing is that like you also probably took some of those things and you're like, I could belt out other character stories and like I couldn't have thought of those things or like even say any of those things if you didn't give me like any like strands to grab onto, you know? So it's definitely a team effort to put that all together. You're giving me way more credit than I deserve,
No,
basically.
no, I'm not giving you enough credit. It's the coolest thing ever. I mean, I got to hang it on my wall, and it's inspiring too, because it made me believe that, oh, this is a character that other people might actually like. Maybe I should pursue it.
I mean,
In
one
which
of
I
the
am.
things is like just a character and their backgrounds, and sure, we get attached to one characters and whatnot, but also like because we've had so many exchanges and like I hear more and more about the band dynamics and the stories and whatnot, that's the intriguing part as well. So you're definitely not giving yourself enough credit because I'm sitting there trying to world build my own stories and I'm like, holy crap, this is a headache. What a pain. And then you're like, hey, yeah, no, there's like this group and they have this dynamic. And I'm like, that's so freaking cool. They're not all like cookie cutters of one another. So, like, ah, so exciting to hear about it.
Yeah, I've got a lot of things in the work. I'm trying to do that. A couple other things. I'm trying to do an art battle. I challenged an artist on YouTube called Beach to Whale to an art battle. We did a random number generator thing, and we came up with Gloomy Monster, which is both in our wheelhouse. We both do creepy stuff. And I want to do like a side by side, have them both time lapse going, and then have like the comic section comment section like determine the winner.
Mhm.
Um, and I hope
Or you
that could
can
be an
do polls.
ongoing thing.
You can do polls on your community tab too,
You
I
see,
believe.
I don't know how to do that.
It's okay. I'll tell you later. I'll
But
let you
yeah,
know.
I think it'd be a fun little competition show. Um, I have a friend who has to do the commentary on it, so it'd be like a unbiased, kind of like an announcer, like for a sporting event.
Mhm.
Like, oh, look at that circle, it's perfect, and oh my gosh, look what he's doing. Just make it exciting,
Yeah,
and
I
then
get
yeah, like
that.
and all sorts of artists could participate, and then you might see someone you never saw before, and you know, like someone.
Yeah, I think that is like one of the things that's very interesting about you and your channel is drawing a community together too, which is like super helpful and it's just definitely encourages a lot of people to, even draw or just like to support one another because yeah, things can get really crappy in social media and on the internet. But it's like you've helped to create this community that's a safe space, basically.
Well, yeah, and especially when you're first starting out, you don't know nothing, you don't know anyone. I mean, you might know
Hmm.
some stuff, but no one knows of you.
Yeah.
And just having just that little bit of encouragement, can go a long ways. Because yeah, also when I was looking for little art channels, there was so many dead channels, and some of them
Yeah.
actually had like a lot of views and subs, and they didn't put anything out for like 5 years. And I was like, wow, look at all these people who gave up. There's so many people that gave up, and I was like, I'm not gonna
Mhm.
give up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna push
Fighter.
through no matter what. But there's been like spans of like 3 months without a video, and then when you
Yep.
come back after 3 months, pretty much everyone's gone.
Hmm.
On the flip side, though, some people I follow put out too many videos, and it's like, well, I can't watch you every day.
Yeah.
you know,
It's a balancing act for sure.
you know.
Yeah.
Well, what are you working on? Like, you got any future projects? Anything big?
I actually keep a list of things that I want to do, but some of them are just such long-term projects or I need to put some brain power into. Like, for example, there's some projects that's long haul. I was supposed to do something because I think on your YouTube channel it said that you started in March and I was supposed to do something for you, but I've been so busy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
Ah.
I heard you say that in one of your videos, and I was like, oh yeah. So my very first video is Goth Girl Crying, and
Yes.
exactly 1 year later, I did Goth Girl Crying 2. So this year, I was going to do Goth Girl Crying 3. And and I was like, well, I got till March. And then when I looked at my thing, it looked like it said it was in January. And I was like, did I miss my anniversary? You know, like
Yeah.
so do I wait till next year, or do I,
Just do
you
it and say
know,
sorry. I was
or should I
late.
just like do it and and then do another one right away?
Yeah. It's just
But yeah, I could
yeah.
definitely be more organized, I guess is what I'm saying.
It's just tricky too. That's like I don't know if you find this to be a challenge as well, but trying to keep up with, a natural life in YouTube.
Yes, yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, one of my first breaks, I injured myself really bad.
Oh.
I had like nerve damage down my shoulder into my arm,
Oh dear.
and my drawing arm was okay, but just like being in the drawing position, I couldn't do it for very long, and I
Yeah.
took 3 months off, and that hurt the channel quite a bit. And
Mhm.
then, uh, like 6 months after that, I had something bad happen, and then I was off for another 3 months, and that hurt the channel even more. But I mean,
Yeah.
everyone definitely goes through their hardcore downs, So all you can do is get up as soon as you can. Sometimes it's 3 months.
Yeah,
What's
I
the longest
do.
you've gone in between videos?
Ooh. I feel like it's been like about 3 months or more.
You think
Um,
so?
yeah, I feel like it was definitely at a time because one of the things that I think is terrible about me is that I'm sort of a workaholic in a way, especially when it comes to school. So I just
I've noticed.
prioritize, yeah, I prioritize schoolwork instead of doing art, and then it feels really crappy. And then I think in a way that sort of gets me into an art block because I'm like,
Yeah, but I
man,
mean,
I
you're
haven't
doing
done
all the
art.
art at school, then you're doing all the art on your YouTube channel, and
Yeah,
then you're still doing putting stuff on Instagram that's not on in either. And it's like, oh my gosh, like and I applaud you for your drive, but at the same time, it's like chill.
yeah. I'm getting really close to being that like post every day a video on YouTube. No, that is not happening. Oh man, I would have. I definitely had a mental break if I was posting a video every day on YouTube, especially my style and whatnot. Gosh.
Yeah, your videos are a little longer, but like you have the gift of gab, though. I mean, you have no blank spots. It's all filled up with visuals and you know you talking, and they're always so fun. Your your videos are fun. Like you get like little jokes in there. Like I've never told a joke in any of mine. I'm just like straight to the point. So yeah, that goes a long way because I don't think there's a whole lot of artists that also have the gift of gab like you do. So I think they're gonna be good for a long time.
It's
Oh
been
my
really nice
gosh.
just talking to you.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just
same here. Like just hearing your voice, like when we first started talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like watching your YouTube video. Like you sound the same.
but it's like just this practice thing too, right? Cuz talking to you this feels natural in a way to just have a conversation between two people.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's sort of thinking, especially if you, because I know you're like doing more voices in your videos and stuff. It's just thinking like your audience is just like talking to another person.
Yeah, that
And
is
as long
true.
as you aren't an a-hole, you're fine. Like if you treat them civilly and stuff, people just are drawn to that.
That's very true.
Hmm.
And as far as I know, there's not a whole lot of art talky stuff out there. I mean, there might be, but I haven't seen a whole lot of it. Unless you know of some. Do you watch any where it's like
Yeah.
more art talk?
There are definitely a few out there. I think Gel Arts is one of them, drawing with waffles. Casey. So there are a few of them, and that's sort of where I turned inspiration for like video style, I guess, in a way from. But it's definitely just certain people likes different things, you know?
That's true. That is very true.
Yeah. Because some people just want to embrace, like, not have someone yapping in their ear all the time, and they just want to embrace the sound and music that accompanies the art and the feeling they get just from that, like your stuff.
Well, I'm so blessed to have musicians around me that are willing to make music for me. Like it is, I find it so cool to have original art and original music. Like a lot
Mhm.
of people don't have that, and it's just so cool. Because like then the whole experience is fresh and new, and you know.
Yeah.
Um, well, do you have a favorite like video? What was like the out of the stuff that you have made? What's your favorite video that you made?
Oh, geez, this is such a good question. I know for sure I
Is it
have a
all of
least
them?
favorite video. I know if you flip the question and ask me what's my least favorite video, I could tell
Okay.
you that right off the bat.
What is it?
There was one that I think I genuinely was having a mental break, and that's why I sort of told you like a lot of the videos that you're like, I don't know if I should post this. I'm like, post it anyways, because I remember there was this video where I was on the verge of crying
Oh,
basically because I didn't like how it turned out. But that's the thing, it's like being vulnerable and also expressing like, hey, sometimes things don't go as planned. That's what makes your channel really charming.
that's true.
And it's
That's
just like
true.
encouraging other people like sometimes we just have our crappy days and that's okay.
That reminds me, I was going through one of my old sketchbooks, and I wasn't as good then, and I was like, "This is pretty bad, pretty bad, pretty bad." And then all of a sudden, towards the end, I have this one picture that's awesome. Like
Yeah.
it's clean, it's crisp, it's badass. There's stuff in the background, like it all came together. So it reminded me of life. You have like bad day after bad day after bad day, and all of a sudden, sometimes something great happens. you know.
Yeah.
or like in music, you have a one-hit wonder. It's like you just keep trying. Like eventually, you're gonna get lucky and just like make something great.
Exactly. And it's like the whole it's the practice thing, and sometimes we've talked about having to send our art into the world type thing and just knowing when to let go, but it's also knowing like when do you keep going and when don't you, like when do you stop because you're going to start crying. So it's definitely like trying to figure out that balance as well, and I think a lot of things in life is about balance, but especially in
True.
art.
It's very true.
Hmm.
Do you study like art history or no?
No, so that's the really interesting thing that I think really trips people up about me. Um, because I say that I like art and stuff, people assume that I've like studied some sort of art history. Other than brief history lessons that I've had in classes, I don't go too far in depth. I'm more of a visual, like, oh, that artist looks really cool. That's their style, and I just hoard a whole bunch of their things and figure out what makes it their style, and then copy it.
When I was in art school, that's one of the things they said. That's how you learn by copying. There, I did a bunch of tracing. Like I had the tracing paper,
Yeah.
and I would just trace everything, comic book stuff, regular, like whatever I could trace, I just traced it. And in comic books, there's so many different styles of art.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, I can draw an eye like this, or I could draw it like this. Which one's my favorite? Or I can combine two of them. And so yeah, like getting that influence.
Yeah. Can we back up? You went to art school? Hold up. Can we talk about this?
Well, okay. So not real. Well, okay. In high school, I took 4 years of art, and then in my
Mhm.
senior year, um, I had like a half day of regular school, and then I went to the Milwaukee Art Museum for classes. So they literally come
Okay.
to my school and bus me to downtown, and we had class right in the art museum. And it was like what 2 or 3 hours a day,
That's
and
freaking awesome.
yeah, so we would like literally just like go and just like sit on the floor in front of like a statue and try to draw it, and the next day we'd go in front of some like $1 million painting and just do weird stuff, and it was a great experience.
Yeah.
Um,
That sounds
however,
like
in
amazing.
my tradition of not doing homework, my teacher did have to pull me aside and ask me if I wanted to be there, and I was like, "Of course I want to be here." And he was like, "Well, you're not, you haven't handed anything in, you know."
Mm.
'Cause, like I was just doing my own thing instead of actually doing the assignments.
Yeah.
So, so I did kind of tighten it up at the end. Um, And then the cool part is I had a painting and a drawing hanging up in the Milwaukee Art Museum.
Oh.
Now, but it was kind of like I didn't really get them in the museum. It was only because I was going to school there. But I can
Yeah.
still say I had my stuff in the museum for a while.
People got to see it?
Yeah, yeah, it was hanging up for 6 months, maybe a year, whatever it was. Um,
Longer than my pieces, let me tell you.
what you've had them?
No, 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 no.
You're in the museums.
Definitely not. Jeez, Ricard,
Yeah. So
you have that
it's
one
really
up
cool,
on
but
me.
it's kind of like I cheated to get them in there. So
Hey, you did your time working on that like class.
yeah, I passed. So
Yeah.
I had to get yelled at, but we did pass. So yay.
Well, that's one
I
of the
should
hard
probably
things
post
about
that
it.
a painting picture of it on
Oh,
like Instagram or something.
old art tour. Go through your old art.
I know I'll put old art on there. I don't have too much on there, and half of my stuff is from October Ink or Inktober from
Yeah.
3 years ago. I was doing
Instagram
that
is
challenge.
hard too. Yeah.
Yeah, but so of course I ran out of time. So a couple of them are really detailed, and a couple of them are just like very very quick drawing. But I have all
Listen,
those posted on there. But then it kind of makes my Instagram page look a little ugly because they're not that great.
it's so hard to please Instagram because it's like your page needs to be aesthetically pleasing, but then it's like put some of your personality in it, and then they want reels, not posts, or they want posts, not reels, hashtags, no hashtags. It's just a lot for Instagram as well.
Are you on anywhere else? Are you on TikTok or Rumble or
No.
any of that
Um,
stuff?
I only do Instagram outside of YouTube. Uh, just because I've been on there for a long time before it got so fancy with reels and whatnot. And I just feel like it's still this sort of kind of casual. Like, I'm not taking everything like art wise too seriously because I'm trying to focus on like graphic design and whatnot. But like, yeah, it's just also discouraging to see that Instagram algorithm, I would say.
Okay.
And that plays a
Well, I
big
mean,
part
like
in it.
some of those reels that you put out, you could put those on as YouTube Shorts. Would that help at all?
YouTube Shorts or TikTok. Yeah. Those would be a what. So if you do shorts, you kill three birds with one stone because you could do a TikTok, Instagram reel, and shorts.
Ooh,
Yeah.
meh, meh. Do you have many shorts out or no?
I don't think I have any shorts out.
Okay, I haven't done any yet either. I did
Yeah.
make or Robin made two reels, I think,
hmm
but I don't know. We didn't really go that route. So
I feel like in a way it's just people say it's a lot easier because you're recording the videos already. Why don't you just put it into shorts? But it's
it's true.
just it feels like a lot, especially when Instagram used to be like this low effort thing, and now it's like grown to sort of need some effort in it. And I get you want to change with the times, but it's also just, I don't know. I doom scroll all the time on Reels, and I'm like, I need to stop. And then I just don't want to be on Instagram at all because I don't want to get distracted and doom scroll all the time.
I haven't heard that it called that before, so that's I like that. Doom
Yeah.
scroll? Okay. Is
Yeah, doom
that where you get,
scrolling
like,
on
hypnotized or
Instagram.
something?
Yeah, you just keep scrolling like down, down, and watching short videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just kinda recently just started, going on Instagram more, and all that comes up in my feed is art and guinea pigs, so,
hmm Your
yeah, so I
feed
could
is
definitely see
wholesome
getting
for
getting
now.
stuck.
Yeah. Um. So I guess this is sort of like a stranger question. Um. How are you, or how did you learn art? Like, are you self-taught, or did you sort of like go to a school? How did all this like come about? I guess.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, self-taught.
hmm
Um, I mean, I did learn some stuff from the art museum, of course, and 4 years of high school, um, but for the most part, yeah, self-taught. Growing up, I got like dyslexia and learning disabilities and all that, and
Mm.
so comic books were good because it also had the pictures, and I really fell in love with some really good artists, and
hmm
while trying to learn how to read and everything. Um, but yeah, I would have to say self-taught. I mean, I'm sure I learned some things along the way, but I've watched a lot of tutorial videos. Um, like even now, there's some really good comic book artists that you know you can watch them draw on YouTube and everything, and some of their stuff is just amazing. Uh, so
hmm
yeah, I would say self-taught. Like I was never good in school, so I have to like learn at my own pace. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Takes me a
I
long time.
Well, that's the weird thing about it's just like how we've just recently like decided as society that like, oh, there might be people that needs a different method of learning things. And they
Yes.
scratch their head and they're like all surprised when there are people who don't like school and stuff. It's like you haven't really taught them the way they need to be taught.
Hmm.
Or you didn't,
Yeah, I struggled the whole time. So
yeah. They like dismiss your interest in art and they're like, no, 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 maybe you shouldn't be an artist. And it's like, it's what
yeah, no,
I'm
I was in summer school every single year. and
Mm.
tutoring, everything. Just nothing worked. I couldn't keep nothing in. Um, but I did retain my doodles,
Yeah.
so that's something. I mean, I get there eventually. It just takes me a lot longer than a normal person would.
Yeah.
So I really got to dig in if I want to do something. I got to do it 10 more times than probably someone would normally do it. Um, but having that drive or passion or whatever probably makes up for you know the lack of being able just to get it normally.
Yeah.
So it evens out. It all balances out, like you were saying. Well, so who's your favorite artist all time? Like Rembrandt or like, I don't know. Do you have
I
any?
don't know if I have a favorite
Or
artist.
top five, or just or who comes
There
to mind?
are
Like Da
some really
Vinci.
cool styles out there. Like you probably
Okay.
noticed this. Some really cool styles out there. One of the really interesting styles that I like, I don't want to say I drool over, but it's just so incredible is Alphonse Mucha. So he's an Art Nouveau artist and he draws the very elegant female figure with very detailed, flourishing backgrounds and whatnot.
Okay.
And I had to replicate the style one time for an art project for graphic design, and I died doing it.
Yeah, I can understand. Was it just the intricacy of it?
hmm
Mm,
It's a lot to do, and there's like so many small little details and stuff, and it's just a interesting style to copy. But like, yeah, that artist comes to mind. For like the Impressionists, definitely are interesting to see.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. Um, as you could tell, like sort of a lot of like traditional stuff, but that's just because I think in high school art they just focused a bit more on that. There's definitely styles that I pull from. Like I had a retro phase for a little bit. But yeah, it's just a lot of, oh, that looks interesting. And I'm like, okay, this works for the client, and then going from there. How about you? Any like interesting comic books,
Um,
artists, or like anything like that?
yeah, I mean, I haven't like seen any of the recent stuff, so this goes back, a handful of years and everything. And J. Scott Campbell, he does the female form incredibly well, and even his faces, like he just put an extra little like twang on the eyes or something, and that were just made it more mesmerizing than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Lee, of course, is a big famous guy. It's like David Finch, and there's so many good comic book artists, um, and they're like on a time frame for the most part too. Even like
Yeah.
McFarlane and some of those guys. And the sad thing is, a lot of them aren't even doing art anymore. Like they're doing other
Oh,
stuff. Like Jim Lee's, I think, in charge of DC Comics, and McFarlane's doing like action figures and stuff. And
yeah.
it's like, man, just keep drawing. Like everyone loved your art. Now you're telling people to make toys, and that's cool. He makes cool toys, but it's like I want to see him do some art, and he hasn't done it in so long. I'm afraid that he might lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that kind of takes me to the next thing, which is, what are your thoughts on AI art? It's a
Oh
hot
my
topic.
gosh. You've caught me in a trap here, Ricard. That's what you've
You know what? It's
done.
not going to be all softballs. I gotta get you. You know, gotta get some people
So,
mad at you.
yeah, it's like this huge thing, right, about AI and AI art and all these things. At first there was like a little bit of a grudge because, it's like not morally gathering their resources to use. So
Yeah.
that is absolutely, I think it's crap. It's terrible for that reason. But here's the thing about living in a society. They accept things and you have to sort of kind of follow along if you want to keep up with the times, which absolutely sort of kind of sucks. But then the flip side too, because I'm in graphic design, we use it for depending on what the situation is. If there's going to be this weird gap between two, like it's hard to explain. So it's definitely depending on like how much is being used, especially in graphic design.
Okay.
But just like AI art in general, it makes me cry inside. Like the art side of it is just such a pain.
Yeah, I know there was a pretty famous artist who I don't know if he was going to sue or because his style like was adopted pretty good by the AI, where it's almost indistinguishable from his own. I don't know if he
Yeah.
actually went through with suing him or not, but I know it's a lot of people got pretty upset about it.
Yeah.
Have you used it at all? Have you tried the Dolly or any of
No.
those?
So I haven't used any of those things because I just feel like
Are you
I
anti
don't
it? Did you protest it?
I just don't feel like there's a need to use them, to be honest. And I think that was one of the things that sort of kind of peeved me off. Am I allowed to bring drama here? I feel like that's a big no-no. Okay, I won't bring drama. I
If you're
won't bring
upset about
drama
it,
because
express your opinion because I'm sure other people feel the same way. Like this guy who wanted to sue, he's very, very
yeah.
upset.
Um so so if we're talking about AI art, I don't like it because you're taking from other artists, and that's the weird thing about being in graphic design because they're like it's a tool, and I'm like it's a tool but it's immoral. But like in graphic design, one of the things they'll say is that, oh, you use AI to sort of help you like visualize thoughts and your plans, and then you clean it up and you fix it and whatnot. And I'm like, great. Then you wonder why we're worried about our jobs being replaced because you basically just had AI do it. No way. So it's like this huge pro and con battle. And personally, for me, I will use. Here's my disclaimer. Not disclaimer. Here's me coming out clean for something. I will use AI, like Photoshop generative fill, for a photo that I'm going to crop just so then it's not so awkward. Certain assets and whatnot, or like to fix, like to remove a fish from a picture that's like in the background, for like little things.
Yeah.
But if it's like to generate a whole poster background, I'm against it because it's like, why did I like, why? That's no longer your work.
Well, could someone say that like even just using a computer to make art isn't that kind of cheating?
See, using a computer, so using like something like Photoshop, like not, when I say Photoshop, I mean like an artist way of using Photoshop, but like a vector program. We'll take Adobe Illustrator. To use that as your drawing program, it's just like drawing, right? And creating. Um, I think the question, like, we start getting into this blurry line because it's like tracing over someone's artwork and trying to learn from there and like rearranging and stuff. So
Yep.
it's just like this really awkward uh situation if it's like the isn't using a computer sort of the same, I guess, because it's like I'm putting some brain power behind coming like bringing the compositions and colors together, but I've also possibly traced over a reference image, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna take it even deeper. So like I have a an anti-ruler instrument bias, or so I did go to college for a little bit for mechanical drafting, and I figured it would have something to do with art. And you don't do anything freestyle at all. Every line, there's a tool. If it's a circle, there's a tool for it. It's a weird angle. There's no. And I had to use rulers and stuff so much that I will never use a ruler again. So if I need a straight line, I better just buckle down, and it's not going to be perfect, and that's fine. You know. Um, So like you like all these things are tools. And so even
Yeah.
with AI art, I did play a little bit with the Dolly, and
Mhm.
of course I make AI aliens.
Yeah.
And of course it makes them a million times better than I could ever make it. And it's kind of discouraging, but at the same time, I don't feel like it's going to take over because sometimes you like the artist, you
Yeah.
know, maybe the art's not so good, but they're such a cool person, or they wear a funny hat, and you just like them. And with a robot, it's like, what do you like? Like some wires and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, so, and then that kind of leads me to my next question is like, what about alien art? So, like, say we meet an alien species and they have thousands of years of history and millions of artists, and they're more advanced than us. So they might have like a million Da Vinci's, and their art may be so superior to ours. Like, how can we compete? But the thing is, we'll find a way. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We're not just going to give up and lay down, even if we're inferior. We're still going to do it because that's
Yeah.
like our purpose.
You are absolutely correct. That's the thing that it's sort of why people are like, it's sort of irrational to be scared of AI taking over because there's just this human touch that people have, and a computer can't quite replicate it, at least not in the near future from what we can see. But yeah, like exactly what you said, humans are very versatile, and there's just this added like it's why people love handmade things so much versus a factory made thing is because there's like this human touch and so much care that goes into it, and you
You
could
feel a
tell
little,
that it's by a human, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, if you're mad about AI art, then yeah, more power to you. Be mad at it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm mad at all sorts of stuff. Um, but that's the thing. Like, if I dug deep and really got all the details, I'd probably be furious about it. But like,
Yeah. Like
what
the
life's
legal
short.
stuff,
What like what?
like the legal stuff of like how they are getting AI, because that was the huge thing when it first started, right? It's like how are they getting the information to make
Well,
what
yeah,
they're
I mean, they're
making?
just taking references of every artist that has ever lived.
Yeah.
But in some ways, like, we do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't invent gray aliens, and it's been my medium kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
So am I stealing it, or it's tough. It's a tough subject.
Yeah.
If AI art makes people give up on their art, then that would be like a travesty. You know,
Yeah.
if they can live side by side, that would be great. But there
Mm-hmm.
might be a robot human war in the art field. But and AI art is really
Oh,
good
don't.
right now, but
Yeah.
it's not replacing us. It's just
Yeah.
not. It's years and years away, if ever. But not just in the art world, but yeah, like, they're going to take over everyone's jobs. They have a fast food restaurant in California that's all robots, and they're going to have like robotic cars or self-driving cars or whatever. And it, so it's coming. Everyone said it would be here by now, but it's slowly going that way.
Yeah.
But stuff like art, I mean, people are still going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that, like, we have like an ant colony. There's army ants. There's farmer ants. There's the queen. Like, people have their jobs,
Yeah.
and I think with humans, like, there's just some people that are born artists, and they just have to
Mm-hmm.
create, and that's just and even if they're inferior, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm
So
making any sense.
you are. You are completely making sense.
Okay.
So there's this thing, you know, the saying like history repeats itself, right?
Yeah.
So one of the movements of the past was with William Morris, and essentially it's the arts and crafts movement, which was we just hit the industrial revolution. Everybody's like wanting things that's very mechanical and looks really cool and quick made. And his movement was essentially let's slow down the pace, let's support hand locally made goods and things that look nice but are also functional and things like that, instead of being like oh mechanic and like it might not be the most comfortable chair. He's like let's make comfortable chair and make it look cool, you know, make it look stylish but also
Mm.
functional, right? So it's like this
Yeah.
loop back again of like yeah, AI is doing art and whatnot, but like there's still people that's like let's support artists, Let's support people who paint things. Let's support local businesses and whatnot. So it's
Yeah.
like repeating again that like even though we're still like factories and everything's quick made and whatnot, there are people out there that's willing to spend a bit extra money for a handmade good.
I kind of reminds me of the story. I went to, I don't even know where it was. It was some sort of field trip for art. We went to like a folk art museum or some sort of folk art thing.
Hmm.
And I got there and I was like, wow, this is a bunch of junk. Here's like a you know, dirty old log that someone, put some straw in for hair and made a little face in it. And I'm like,
Hmm.
this is junk. But then the more I started looking around, like some people made some really cool stuff out of that junk, you
Yeah.
know? And and each one of them was an individual thing. It couldn't be mass produced, and and so I went in thinking it was terrible and I left thinking it was great. So
Yeah.
just like spending a little time there just completely changed my mind.
So it's exact. I feel like that's the direction that's going to happen with art as well. Either it's going to be like a shift away from AI art, or just like some people prefers traditional over digital and whatnot. It's just like this. There's definitely a shift of like, okay, I see that's AI. I'm just gonna avoid it. I'm gonna choose not to buy something from an AI artist. You know?
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, the consumer is the one that has power, and if the consumer stops supporting AI artists, then it's like, okay, it's probably gonna fade away.
Right, right. How
Well,
many more?
did you
I
have?
only got one more question for you. So how many do you got?
I was gonna actually just lead into another one of like, were there any other unexpected challenges that you've come across starting your YouTube channel?
Oh, yeah. I mean, life's getting in the way.
Yeah.
That's probably the hardest part. There's always something going on. You always have a twisted ankle or a cold or trouble at work.
Mm-hmm.
There's always something distracting you. And then by the time you get to the drawing board, you're too tired or too
Yeah.
stressed out. Um, that's probably the most difficult part, because sometimes you're just not motivated, and you have to almost talk yourself into doing something.
Yeah.
And also,
I
there's a lot of pressure when
relatable.
the camera's on. You know, because when you're just doodling in a book, you make a mistake, big deal. But if you're doing like a big piece in this big video, there's kind of a lot of pressure to make it as good as you want it to come out. And so I have like five, maybe six videos that I deemed not channel worthy. So I still have them. I still could put them out, but they're not to my standard, and my standard's not that high. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah,
Well, I mean, we've talked about it. Sometimes
yeah.
it's good to see
Well,
that.
yeah. No, I was gonna do a fail video, and then I can have
Yeah.
all those just like touch on them or something. Well, but also like have you get the idea to do something, and sometimes it takes forever to do. So I made a
Hmm.
love through art video very early on, and it did really well. And it was about people that gave me artwork, and then I would make artwork to give back to them in appreciation. Well, I have received a bunch of art from people, and I have not paid them back,
Oh, yeah.
because I want to make something that's like that I think they might like, you know.
Yeah.
And I have probably like, and I have notes and stuff, and who gave me what, and because when someone gives you a unique piece of art, it's awesome, and every
Hmm.
one of them was like a surprise. Like you just randomly giving me something, like, and then you handmade it, like, oh my gosh, and I need to show my appreciation. And for some reason, because it's a little more complicated of a video, and also I'm not necessarily doing my own style. I'm doing what I think they will like. But the thing is,
Hmm.
I probably like just to get anything. But they're not expecting me to give them anything. They just
Yeah.
give me gifts because I don't know why. you know?
Sometimes it's just like a
And
little appreciation thing, you know?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I appreciate it so much. It's like, oh, I gotta give them something back. Gotta make something. But I have a
Yeah.
million, not a million, but I have a lot of things And usually I'll, instead of doing any of the things that I want to do, I'll just make something up when I sit down and do something completely different. So it's the organization part of it.
You should not feel bad about it. It happens. But like, yeah, it's definitely something that it's to work on. Like, hey, I had this video planned and I should do it. So, gosh.
Well, and one of the things that's kind of funny is uh I'll tell some people that I was doing some drawing off camera,
Hmm.
because because it's a completely different animal when you're drawing with no one watching.
Yeah.
So sometimes I won't have a video come out. I'm still doing drawing. Just didn't do it on video. Do you prefer traditional drawing or do you prefer the computer stuff?
I think there's appeal to both. I would like to do more traditional drawing recently just because I stare at a screen for so long that I would like to give my eyes a break. But the digital one and the reason why I got into digital drawing is because it's so convenient to have like all the colors right at your fingertips and to like have all these brush textures right there instead of having to hoard a whole bunch of art supplies. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of art supplies like scattered all over.
I also still have a lot of art supplies. I've sort of kind of abandoned them, but that's like another reason why I want to get back into doing more traditional things.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I want to do a sketchbook video like you did. But all
Yay!
my sketchbooks are like half done. I never just completed one and moved on. I just, it's very frustrating. It's like, why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I just finish one before I moved on? Like, I don't know if it's just
Compile
like
them all into a video.
going.
All of your half sketchbooks, compile it into like split up. Like maybe you do two sketchbooks in one video. Even though they're half, it's something.
So, do you practice? Like, especially at the beginning, did you practice talking before you went into it?
Oh,
Were you just
geez. And
talking to
those,
yourself?
um, So there's some tips when it comes to doing voiceovers. Oh man, I'm exposing myself.
Oh, tell me the tricks. I need to know. I need all.
So one of the things I do is I will just do several audio recordings. It's like how I practice presenting in like real life is that I'll practice like I'll do several audio recordings and rerun so I sort of a know what do I need to talk about and roughly like what's a good idea, and then b it sort of helps me to get into a flow and say my thoughts smoother rather than trying to come up with everything on the spot. Now this is completely winged, the interview, of course, but like generally, like when I voice a speed painting or something, I've probably recorded it like 3, 5, 10 times.
Really?
Yeah, and you've
I'd be
probably
afraid of
gotten the
losing.
last one.
Yeah, I'd be afraid of losing some of the good stuff and then messing it up the second go.
Sometimes that is the case. So this is where things are sort of like do it depends on the situation. If it's a shorter video, like 13 minutes or something, it's not a whole lot of me rambling. I'm trying to like explain a process or like getting to the point of something. So that gets recorded a lot. Something like this, obviously, longer form content is like a one-time thing. I'm just doing my best to stay on topic and seeing where it flows to.
How will you change the world through love with your art?
Oh man, encouragement, man. So one of the things I hope to do with the channel is encouragement. But the other main thing, and you've probably heard me rambling about this a few times, it's sort of education educating slash I want to do something, especially in like this year's and moving forwards, is exposing people to like potential things that they can do, because one of the main things for me was when I liked art, like I say art's my first love all the time. When I say I love art, um I was shot down a lot with like, oh, you'll be a starving artist. You'll just do art. You'll have like a whole bunch of painting and stuff and like the traditional art route. And nobody told me like graphic design's a thing or like medical illustrating is a thing, and that's sort of something that I want to sort of push towards people so then they don't get in this mindset of like starving artist or like even just outside of starving artist, like a whole bunch of different careers and pathways and experiences a person could have in the future, but they just don't know about it because no one's mentioned it in the past. And like I know some people just didn't get lucky like I did and heard about graphic design, and now they're like stuck in this job that they might not really like.
Yeah.
Um, so that's sort of one of the things that I hope to do is sort of like encourage people to try new experiences and just like expose people to possible career paths of things that you might be interested in.
Yeah, that's great. And I think having a little community that, is easy to hear that stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know. It seems like everyone's kind of spread out. Like, I don't know. There might be like some Facebook things or some discords where all these artists are talking to each other, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like everyone's kind of doing their own thing. And because being an artist, like, it doesn't even, it's not mainstream. It's so like underground.
Hmm.
Um, but the thing is, I think that's going to change because Hollywood's been really going downhill. The comic book industry has been going downhill, and like art in general, and like the mainstream, like what you see on TV and everything, it's getting really bad. And so there's going to have to be some artist that like blows up or changes things, and hopefully they do it through love,
Yeah.
because we definitely need more love in the world. And who better than an artist to create something beautiful or inspiring, or because it has to come from somewhere. The
Hmm.
whole world seems to be falling apart, and there's got to be a way to save it.
Yeah.
It's not going. It's been going downhill for a long time, but I just something's got to give. But especially with all the industries, kind of, I don't know if there's any good music anymore these days. Maybe the kids have something, but um, it seems like we need artists now more than ever.
Hmm.
Does that make sense, or do you feel differently?
A lot of some of the strongest like political movements or like movements in general started from artists and whatnot. There's actually this really popular artist. I think he might have been exiled from China though. Oh man. Because he had a lot of political artworks that went into museums to speak out about governments and whatnot. So like yeah, art spreads a lot of different messages and it breaks through. I know a lot of music, they've had their different eras where they've broken through to like the public and society and whatnot and yeah.
Okay. Do you think you could lead the charge, bring community together?
To be honest, I think you're the one who's sort of bringing communities together because you're doing all these like collabs and being really supportive. But I hope I could be a part of being a supportive like art community and sort of also help and like encourage people to try things and um not give up on not just their dreams but like hobbies and whatnot too, because I feel like when we get older and we have to deal with being an adult, we sort of lose being creative and our hobbies and whatnot to working and trying to support ourselves in this economy.
I mean, I just feel like something's missing. It
Hmm.
seems like a lot of people are miserable, and it
Yeah.
shouldn't be that way. So, and I know life's hard and everything, but it seems to be harder than it could be.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, I don't even know how to fight it, but there's a way. And
Hmm.
and I think some sort of art form, maybe a song, a band, something. Because everything's spread out now. So back in the day, there was like three TV channels, so everyone knew what everything was.
Hmm.
Now you and me could talk about entertainment and not have a clue what the other one is talking about, you
Yeah.
know. And so there's nothing bringing people together like it used to.
Hmm.
Um, even religions seem to be taking a hit. Like everything seems to not be as good as it used to be.
Yeah,
Or,
I
or am
think
I old and bitter?
well, that's something else that's really interesting too. It's the whole this feels really controversial. It's the whole opinion stuff and like I feel like people once they have an opinion, they're set in stone about it. And it's just I get it, but it's also like we don't need to protest each other violently in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, it makes it, yeah, it's not, violence is never
Like I
really
want
the
to be able
direction.
to see from other people's perspective peacefully. Like just have it explain it to me. We don't need to get violent and we don't need to be like slandering each other or stuff like that. Just explain to me your perspective and then let me make my decision as to what I want. Do you believe
Yeah. Well,
that
one of
type
the
of
things
thing?
with all the information that's out there, we're realizing that people think completely different than one another. I
Mhm.
mean, some groups think one way, but like there's, right and wrong, this and that. Like people think wildly differently than each other. And
Yeah.
so instead of just arguing about it, it's like, well, how do we live together? Like,
Yeah.
and it's going to be a give and take, but it seems everything is let's fight. We should understand that people think wildly differently,
Yeah.
accept one another, and figure out like a happy medium. You
That's
know?
literally why I genuinely think like I'm not someone who's like you have to be nice to everyone you meet because sometimes it's just so exhausting to be nice to every single but I believe in being civil with everyone you meet until you have a reason like to change that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Like you don't have to be all sunshine and rainbows all the time, but just don't be an a-hole and we can get along with each other perfectly fine.
That's true. It is true. Um, but even with some, not all of them, but some of the a-holes, like there's a reason they're acting that way.
Yeah.
Maybe they're sick or someone's they love just died, or eh,
Yeah.
maybe they're just evil people too. But but yeah, there's always that breaking point of like, you know, like I mean, sometimes you gotta walk away. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. There's something we can do. We'll figure it out.
Mhm.
We'll figure it out. Um, it might
Yeah.
take us a while, maybe a few generations. I don't know, but I mean, yeah, there's been war and jerks the entire history of time, though. So
Yeah.
maybe this is normal. Maybe the old times weren't so good.
Maybe it's a communication thing, you know, they need to communicate a bit more. I just think that be open-minded and be civil to everyone you come across, you know.
Yeah, more love. We need more love. That's all I'm saying.
Mhm.
More love.
Yeah. Um, I have to choose between two questions. Uh, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Um,
Just
if
like,
there's something that you would like to tell aspiring artists, which this is a good note to leave behind, what would it be?
n- don't get discouraged. Never give up.
Yeah, I feel like that's really fair, especially because I feel like we've really nailed down that point in this whole interview thing. Just like there's a lot of things that you'll go through as an artist. There's ups and downs. There are points where your art looks like crap and you just have to keep going. And there are times where you have to accept that crap and just be like determined to practice more, I guess. And don't let that beat you down.
I don't know if it's mandatory for an artist to be susceptible to depression, but
Oh no.
the more creative you are, the more depressed you are. But I know that there's a lot of really good artists out there, and they put out a video and no one watches it, and it happened to me too. You just like, oh, like, am I just wasting my time? No one wants to see my stupid little things, and all that stuff goes through your head. But it's more like you have to say, well, usually it takes a year or two to build a channel. to get
Mhm.
fans. You know,
Yeah.
you have to go into it being like, I'm starting to build this house, and this is the first brick. Not like,
Mhm.
oh, no one's watching, because they're not going to start watching until you have like at least the first level done. Then
Yeah.
you'll get some eyes. And then when you finish the house, you'll have a whole bunch of people saying how cool your house is. So like when
Yeah.
you first put out your first few videos, those are just some bricks, and you learn. Every video I put out, I learned something from. I learned what not to do. You know, everything. Um,
That's like one of the best things too is like the part where you're saying like, "Oh, I learned what not to do." That's so important. Just even in life in general, you make mistakes and that's okay to make mistakes as long as you sort of like learn from them and you grow from them.
and again, a one hit wonder. You know, you can put out 300 bad things. You get that one thing, boom, the whole world sees it. You make $1 million or whatever it is you're looking for, your fame or your 15 minutes. You know, it's all it takes. But you have to have, you know, 300 failures before you get that super good one. And you
Yeah.
never know what people are going to like,
Yeah.
you know. But you have to do
Sometimes
what you like, though. I think that's the main thing, because the more you like it, the more passion you have for it, and that passion is gonna like push through it and jump off the page or video. And I think that's what people want, like the
yeah.
emotion, like how it makes you feel.
Yeah, I mean, people are attracted to charisma. That sounds like a culty thing to say. People are just attracted to passion, though, and when you show that emotion through like videos, art pieces, and whatnot, even music and stuff, it really just draws people in and they want to see more because it's just positive energy. And I think that's one thing that people are attracted to is just good vibes, positive energy.
Yeah, good vibes. Um, on the flip side, though, too, when I'm very depressed or sad, it doesn't hurt to put that out, because when someone else is feeling sad and depressed, and or they get it, they understand. You know,
Hmm.
so there's nothing wrong with putting out something that's sad.
Yeah, put out that
Like,
video that you almost cried in.
you know you're gonna cry, but you watch it
Yeah.
anyway. You know, because you
Yeah.
want. Sometimes you're like, this is how I am, and I don't want to be happy right now. I want to be miserable. Sometimes,
Yeah. Like
but
being emotionally vulnerable is also something that people, because when you're vulnerable, it's like putting down your guard. In a way, it can help you make you feel like genuine too when you have those vulnerable moments and you aren't afraid to show it to people because then they relate to it.
and two, like, get motivated. No matter how you can do it, if you gotta like put on some music that pumps you up, or a motivational speech, or taking a cold shower, whatever, like, gets you out of your funk. Just, I guess that's more along the lines of artist block. I'm just gonna answer that one too. So basically, if you have artist block, just do what you know you're good at. So say you're good at like just drawing faces, then just sit down and keep drawing a bunch of faces because you're good at it. So it should make you feel good when you make something you know you're good at. Like
Hmm.
find that one thing that you can like your go-to almost. So
Yeah.
even if you can't think of anything to draw, you're still perfecting the thing you're best at.
Hmm.
Then I don't know.
Well, because when you
That's kind of
do something that like you like drawing, for example, if you really like drawing a specific thing, it sort of helps you to get back into it because you likely like drawing it because you're good at it. And then you realize, oh, I'm not a crap artist. I'm pretty good at it. And then that sort of helps you to sort of move forwards, I guess, in a way.
yeah, yeah. You get a little bit of confidence back.
Yeah.
You listen to music when you do your art?
Sometimes.
Okay, I mostly do.
Hmm.
Mostly do. I get a lot of inspiration from music, I would say. Um,
Yeah. I feel like you are very closely connected to music.
yeah, yes, I agree. Which was funny because I'm tone deaf and I can't play a note to save my life. Um, it's like I lost all that ability. Like I have zero of that, and I have more creativity and art stuff. Like
Visual.
everyone's that. So when I was playing my D&D, I put 0 in the music category and put those points into my drawing and creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I want to thank Robin and Leroy. Um, they're just as much a part of the channel as I am. And you, oh, you've helped me so much. I bounce so many ideas off you. I feel bad sometimes. I'm just like bombarding you with like stupid questions, like what do I do in this situation? Or I'm sending you weird pictures, and you're always so encouraging, and I appreciate that more than you could ever know.
Yeah, I'd like to think it's sort of like a mirror situation because you always give me such positive things and you're always encouraging me that it's like I want to return that to you as well. So, like, yeah, I just, it's exactly like just that's how it is. If you are very encouraging, which you are, I'm like, okay, then I'm going to be encouraging back because that is so nice of you to be that way to me. Why am I not returning it?
Yeah, that's true, and that's like paying it forward type thing.
Hmm.
So
But
yeah,
yeah,
if we keep that up, and then other people start doing it, then eventually everyone will be
eventually the
loving and
world will
encouraging.
be better.
One person at a time.
Hey, that's yeah, that's how it starts, right? I think
And
you
I
did a
appreciate you doing this. Like I've been talking about this for a while, didn't know really how to do it, or and I think at first I said I wanted to be an interview, and maybe we had some questions, but it wasn't really an interview, so it wasn't even like what I thought it would be. And so that's your creativity coming out, and you made this
well, I
happen
think
so
that
fast
was
and all the tech
sufficient.
stuff. So I appreciate all of that.
Well, thank you so much, Ricard, for the interview idea, basically, and just collaborating for another video. I do apologize that the video is longer, trying something new. And yeah, so the idea was completely Ricard. Thank you, Ricard, for it. And also, thanks so much to his team, Robin, Leroy, and of course, the support guinea pigs, Dime, and Aaron, I believe. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, a little something different. And I also hope you guys stay safe, stay hydrated, have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Bye!